Sigurdarson. Albert skorar! Albert Gunnarsson hefur skorað. Ragnar Helgesson har skotað þetta mark. Glæsilega. Óskar hann á móti Bjarna. Og Bjarni með góða sendingu fyrir og Haraldur Ingólfsson.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Best of Pod Ever. We are so excited to get this episode underway. We have a special guest with us today who I'll introduce in just a second. But as always, I am joined by my partner in crime here, Tryggvi. Tryggvi, how are things going?
Good. I'm excited to get stuck in. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, lots to talk about. It's been an action-packed last match day, and yeah, we're going to spend a lot of time on one game in particular, I think, this episode. But before we do that,
Coward Fylkir one, right?
That's of course. There's none others to really focus on. Not the El Clásico of Iceland or anything, So as I've seen some people phrase it. Do you agree with that? You think it's El Clásico? Would you say that's true?
Oh, that has to be Coward Valur, I think. That's the two giants, but we'll see. See if our guest agrees with that.
Yeah. So go ahead, Tryggvi. Why don't you go ahead and introduce our guest? Spare my blushes.
So we have Orri Rafn with us, a sports commentator, a sports journalist. An all-rounder in football, Icelandic football. The Scandinavian football as well. I think there's very little he doesn't know about, and we're really excited to have him on the pod. Hi, Orri.
Hi guys, thank you for that introduction.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, clearly no stone goes unturned for you.
I try to follow as well as I can, but I know a lot, but not maybe everything. But hopefully I can give you some insight and some fun stuff around Icelandic football and the league.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. And like Tryggvi said, yeah, thanks for joining us on this episode. It's gonna be fun. So we'll kind of run through Matchday 10 and the results there, and then we're gonna talk briefly about some of the games, but then we're actually gonna have a bit of a bigger discussion with Orri about the women's league. He's very knowledgeable about that as well, and so we thought it would be an interesting conversation to have with him, and we'll talk about the women's Besta and how that's going, and also we may delve a little bit into the women's team for Iceland, and we'll see where the conversation goes. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. So Matchday 10 shook out like this. EBVUF 3, Haukau 0. So good win for EBVUF. Strong performance at home. They looked good. I think Haukau has really calmed down since the beginning of the season. They didn't seem to have much of a fight in this game, if I'm being honest, from what I saw. And we know that going away for any team going away to EBVUF it's a tough venue to play in, and they're very strong at home, and they showed that here. So a solid win for them. Orri, we know you're a big EBVUF fan. Did you get a chance to tune into this game?
Yeah, I saw quite a bit of it, and I like what I saw. I saw the EBVUF team that I know. Like, we have been on a down low for the last couple of games, but in this game, I felt like they found back the fighting spirit and what Hermann Hreiðarsson wants them to show when they play. And I feel like they just dominated that game. It's a hard stadium to come and visit, and how maybe don't have the players to match the fitness and aggression that EBF has when they're on their day. And I'm just really happy to see a good performance, and I'm really happy to see that Hjaltested scored the first goal in that game, and I'm really looking forward to see him, like finding the confidence again.
Yeah, I thought the third goal that they scored in particular was pretty nice. The pass that was laid off to put in the player, I believe, who scored it, if I'm recalling correctly. Yeah, it was a nice pass in. So they were playing some good football at home. So that was good. Tryggvi, any thoughts on this game?
No, I think it's going to be more interesting to see. Is the How Cup bubble burst at least for a little bit, or is this a temporary thing, or is this maybe the new normal? They struggled again, like they've done in the last few games with shots on goal. They've sometimes they've managed to turn an XG of 0 point something into 3 goals. Not today. So we'll see if this is maybe the new normal for them. Low, slow, not losing, but maybe some low chances, that low conversion rate sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see if this is how Cup bounces back from these last few results.
Yeah. So we'll move to the next result here. Fylkir 3, Kaur 3. Both Tryggvi and we were both watching this game. I actually thought Kaur was going to come out with the win on this one. I thought maybe they would squeak the fourth goal, but it didn't work out that way. But still, a point is a point, and it's against a direct opponent for the relegation battle, I would say. And so, yeah, lots of goals. Defense was non-existent in this game a little bit. Goals off of someone's, just rebounded off of someone's face as well. If I can recall, I should have the name of who that was, but my mind is blanking right now. But yeah,
Theodor Elmar.
That's who it was. Yeah.
Space,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game of like different chapters. Like there was when Kaur looked good, they looked great. Like the 2 goals, I think, the 2 first goals were fantastic, and then Fylkir just took over and do what they do. Apparently, when they go under, when they concede, and when they're losing, they kick into gear. This is apparently what Fylkir is doing this season. And then just dominated, and then Kaur came back at some point, and yeah, they could have maybe snatched it, but they could have, honestly. I think if either team had lost this, I don't think they would have had too much complaints. But yeah, I mean, at least Kaur is scoring goals, I guess.
Yeah.
But the defending wasn't great. Yeah, I can agree with that.
No, but I think Fylkir is doing well right now. They have found some rhythm and balance inside of the squad, and like in the last 4 games, they have 8 points out of the last 12. And they lost against Breiðablik, I think it was in the 6th round, and before that they lost against Valur big at home, 1-6. So I think it's also strong mentally that they have coming back and like just show some character, and especially because Rúnar has said like he trusts the squad, he doesn't want to bring anybody in, and now it's showing. Like the trust he has in the squad is showing right now. That they have characters and they have players that can play in this league and get results.
No, I agree. And we've talked about them in the last few episodes, that like there's really surprising a little bit maybe after the start they had and the squad issues they've had. So yeah, it's been super impressive what they've been able to do so far. I think Rúnar Páll is doing a really good job with limited resources. So it's all credit to Fylkir, definitely. But yeah, like I said, the positive for Kaur is we're scoring goals at least.
Yeah.
But
we couldn't say that earlier in the season, right? But they seem to have found their goal scoring boots a little bit, which is helpful for sure.
Yeah, but 9 goals in 10 games is not good in Vesturbach.
Right.
No, and I think one thing I noticed a lot in this game was that every time there was a chance, whether it resulted in a goal or not for Kaur, it was almost never for the strikers, for the two strikers that played in this game. I'm not saying it's their fault or anything like that. I'm not saying they're doing a bad job or whatever, but I think it's whether they're just finding them, whether the role they're doing is putting them in other places in the pitch or what. Or I just found it, a bit telling maybe that it almost never fell to the strikers to put the ball in the back of the net. So yeah, we'll see, because they've not. I think only Floki has a goal, one penalty goal or something this season.
Yeah. He needs to find the goal again.
Yeah.
Yeah, one player that I mentioned to you during the game that impressed me a lot. Well, I mean, there were players everywhere, I guess, but one that stood out to me from Kaur was Johannes Bjarnason, the young number 4. I think he plays. Did he play right back? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's played. He did that the last game as well, and I thought he was really good. I think maybe he struggled. There was a few occasions where he was struggling a little bit, but no, I've been quite impressed with him as well. I think he's a bit raw. He does make sometimes shoots when he maybe shouldn't, and sometimes goes on a loan. But I think he's bringing something else to this team that we don't have. But yeah, he's a midfielder.
He's also
day
like,
job, I guess you want to say, but he's a right wing back now. But yeah, sorry, Orri, go ahead.
No problem. Also, like, he comes from, he's the son of Bjarni Guðjónsson, and he has like this blood in him. Like he was at Norrköping before he came to Kaur, so he has the talent, and like he went from Kaur to Norrköping and then was picked up back now before the season, and he's just showing like he has the talent, and he's way too good to be playing in this league for years to come. So I think he will go abroad again at the end of the season.
Do you think he'll go back to Sweden or somewhere else?
I think he will go back to Sweden.
Yeah.
Of course, you hope that for obviously not for Coward, but like for him, it's always better to if they make the step abroad. So of course, you hope that he does that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe he'll sneak over to AIK Stockholm. I would not be opposed to that. Anyway, that's a different discussion for another time. Cool. Well, yeah, that's how we saw that game. So we'll head over to Stjarnan, and they played Kawa. So they won 4-0. Another big performance, I feel like, from Stjarnan, who at this point I think desperately need it. And I think we mentioned on the last episode that since the new manager took over, they had won 1, they had lost 1, and drawn 1, or won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, I think is maybe how the order was. But anyways, so they picked up another 3 points here with a big 4-0 win at home against Kawa. And yeah, it's not horribly surprising, I guess. Well, I can't even say that. Stjarnan for their team, I think everything revolves around Isak Andre, who is a budding star for sure, and I can't see him staying much longer in the league. But yeah, he got a goal in this game. Pretty sure he also got an assist as well. So that will put him on the goal and assist charts, move him up further.
Yeah,
he was already kind of at the top in terms of both of those combined, and yeah, he's doing great things. But Stjarnan as a whole, really solid performance at home against a Kawa team that they look good. They seem to be running into some bumps right now, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But I mean, how did you guys see this game?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that Kawa have lost 4-0 3 times this season, and we're already 10 games into it. I know that that it was also against Svalur and Breiðablik, who good teams, but this is not great. I think this is officially moved into the not great status for Kawa. Yeah, and they just couldn't cope with these buzzing teenagers running around them. it was just all too much a bit for them. I think, like we've said a few times this season, it'll be very interesting to see how the Stjarnan team without Isak Andri, because we got a bit of a taste of that against Kauer, and you know, they lost a big chunk of this team. They always have other good players. Ekkert Aron, I think, played really well in this game. You know, but I think it's he just does he scores a poaching goal. He's running. He's not just, you know, crossing. He's running with the ball. He's on the wing. You know, play as a playmaker, spraying passes around. He's also taking on players. He's just, you know, everything that I saw in this game was Isak Andri, and then Ekkert Aron was the supporting. You know, doing really well, but you know, supporting character around it.
Yeah. I would say like Isak Andri and Hilmar Otni, they're different kind of players, but Isak Andri is taking like the steps that Hilmar Otni took when he came from Leiknir to Stjarnan. Isak Andri is doing that now for Stjarnan, I feel like he's just dominating every single game he plays, and that is also what we saw from Hilmar Otni when he came to Stjarnan. And I always feel like Stjarnan has one or two players that are just dominating every single game. And like you said, in this game, Isak Andri was fantastic, and Ekkert Aron was also really good. And Ekkert Aron is maybe living a little bit in the shadow of Isak Andri right now, because Ekkert Aron is as good as Isak Andri, but Isak Andri maybe is, you notice him more because he's more of an attacking player than Ekkert Aron is. Ekkert Aron is more like as Muligman, like you say in Scandinavia. He can play almost every position on the field, and he always delivers. So, and I also just like what Jökull is doing. Like, he's trying to play football. They're trying to play good football. They're trying to hold the ball. They're trying to create something using the younger players. So I really like the project that is going on in Garðabær right now at Stjarnan.
Yeah, we agree. The Icelandic Jürgen Klopp, right?
Yeah. But I'm also worried about Kawa. Like, I'm really worried about what is going on at Kawa. And I'm not sure, like, Hallgrímur, if he is the right man for the job right now. But he's an exciting coach. But getting this position right after Arnar Gretarsson, it's just really hard. And I think he will learn a lot from this season as the coach for Kawa, because he is learning, like, you cannot be too cocky. And you need to get some new players in, because they're also playing like on the same players year and a year again. So I think this is a good season for Kawa to learn a little bit and maybe evolve and take steps in getting younger players in. And
they also have some sort of, well, they'll have some sort of European campaign as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, I'm not sure at this point in time how far that's really going to go, because in terms of timing, you know, they kind of started off okay, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've hit some bumps, and like you said, yeah, it's maybe an attitude piece in terms of, you know, playing style and yeah. So it's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. How worried are you? Like, are you thinking they're gonna drop into the bottom 6?
No, they're not gonna. No, I don't think so. I'm not sure though. Like, we need to see how the European campaign is. Also, like, how are they gonna use the squad in those games? Are they gonna sacrifice the league games because they don't have the depth in the squad to play many games? So I think we have to see, like, in July, we can maybe say, are they going to be in top 6 or bottom 6? But as it looks now, it doesn't look good. And right now, yeah, they could be in bottom 6 at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Go ahead.
They've conceded like the third most of any team in the league, which is insane. Like, this is a team that we've spoken about before. This is a team that never, like, you went there, especially going to Akureyri, like, you went there praying to get one goal, off them.
Yeah.
And then like this is a team, that you've never they wouldn't, if they lost 4-0, it was a this would be a tribunal and a court martial, people would be court martialed for it, and now it's happened 3 times this season. So it's it'll be interesting to see if what they do with it, because Hallgrímur was always going to run into some issues following a manager like Orri says. It was never going to go 100% forever, right? So he's just run into issues a bit earlier than he hoped for, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
But also, like in the last 5 games, there's 1 victory and 4 defeats. So like they have to figure out how to win games to get the confidence back up.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, the next games there's home against Fylkir, which, like we said, Fylkir is no pushover.
No.
And then it's KR, IPVF.
And they have KR and IPVF away, so that's 2 hard games away. And I think they have 3 away games in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Europe might change that a little bit. I don't know. Or maybe that's later. I don't know. But it's. They don't come back home until, according to the schedule, they don't come back home until like end of July against Hauko.
Yeah.
They have a lot of away games. So that's not good.
Speaking of coming home, I did want to mention that I saw the other day, looks like they've released plans, KR anyway, to either redo or build a new complex. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, looks, from the pictures, it looks quite nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah.
I mean, Saiva Pietursson, the chairman, he is in this with 110% passion, and he wants the best for the club. And I think what he is doing and what they have been doing there, they are taking the steps into the right direction, and this is just one of those steps. So I'm really looking forward to see how they will evolve as a club over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
I mean, it's always better to have some strong teams outside of the capital as well. It gets boring when when all the games are just in 20-kilometer radius. So it's always fun to have a strong KR as well.
Exactly.
Also on Friday, so three other games. So we'll start with Fram. So they beat Keflavik 4-1. The Fred show, for sure. He scored twice in this game. We haven't actually talked a ton about him, but he is a player who has had a very good season. And I think this Fram team depends or relies on him heavily at times to propel them forward. He's definitely up there in terms of goals. I think we released a graphic a couple weeks ago, and I think he was either 3rd or 4th on the top goal scorers in the league so far, and he's added to that since then. So yeah, it was fun, and his second goal, if I'm remembering correctly, was pretty nice. I think they were both pretty nice, but his second goal is the one that stands out to me. As one of those, I was kind of like, oh wow, look at that. So yeah, again, a good result at home for Fram. They're up into 7th now. Yeah. They after losing 3 in a row, they finally got a win against Keflavik, who is struggling this season. It doesn't help that they've had some injuries. Nacho Harris is out for Keflavik. That hurts a little bit, along with I think a few other players. But yeah, I think Keflavik is in trouble, and do you guys agree?
Keflavik is going down without a doubt. If it like the problems that Keflavik have, they have had many injuries also last season. This season is always talking about they're always talking about the injuries, and I just think maybe like Keflavik needs to get some time in the first division just to build up a new squad.
Mm.
Because I just think they're too small for the Vestadelt right now. They're probably gonna chop my head off right now and come to my DMs and say some shit. But like you can just see it. They have 6 goals in 10 games, and when you're watching them play, you don't feel like they are threatening. Like you don't feel like they're gonna do something. And losing 4-1, and I think like you said, Fred was just fantastic in that game. But I never felt like Keflavik was gonna do something.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, they, I don't think it's a secret to anybody that, that there's been a lot of discussion about the number of players that left the club since the last season. And that certainly hasn't seemed to help them a ton. But yeah, they're struggling right now. That's for sure. And I don't know what more to be said. Tryggvi, you have any thoughts?
No, I think it's right. I think the problem is they built a squad and now it's just been torn apart. So that the squad they came up with that looked, that had its strengths, it's just gone now. The goalkeeper's gone, the defense is gone, the attack is gone. It's not that team that came up, and it's not been. They brought in some players, but it's just not enough. And I think they're kind of.
Exactly. And
it was a miracle last season, to be honest, that they stayed up. I think everyone was really impressed with Sigurd Ragnar, that he managed to keep him up. I think this season looks like it's not going to be another one.
It's too much this season. But we have to talk about just a quick input with Jon Thorir. We call him Nonni, the Fram coach, like you probably know. The thing that was said in the Thungavik podcast about him not showing up to training for 3 or 4 days in a row, and that was incorrect. He was at a funeral and missed out on one training the day before, I think. I just want I respect how Nonni came to an interview after the game and just talked about it and approached it and just said I don't want people to say something about me that is not true that could affect the team. I would never just let anything affect the team. So I like how he came out to the interview after the game and just said his meaning on things. Like podcasts cannot just come out and say things that are not true.
No, we try to stick to facts mostly here, at least.
Yeah. I'm not telling you this podcast. I'm talking about another podcast. Yeah.
It wasn't a slight dig at us. No, I mean, I think what Fram is. I think that's a good indication of where Fram is at the moment. They've. I don't remember exactly how many years ago, but they're such a more of a solid team. They might, even if they go down this season or that next season. I don't think they will this season, but let's say, for argument's sake, that it happens, you wouldn't be worried about them as you were before. I think there were some years when they kept going up and down, and they were a very unstable unit, and it was a lot of drama around them. And now it's just a very tight ship that the manager is running, and the whole club. So I think it's a very indicative that the manager is handling himself in that way, because it's just a very undramatic team, which is which has not always been the case with Fram.
Yeah. Two games left to cover. We'll hop into those. Valor won, FAL won. So FAL getting a draw away from home against Valor, who just days before had handed Vikingur their first loss of the season. I just wonder if there was a little bit of carryover from that game in terms of Valor and the effort that they had to put to win against Vikingur. I wonder if that carried over a little bit into this game. But I also thought, I don't know. Obviously, I like FAL a lot, but it did feel like our goal that we got was, I don't know, it was a bit weak in terms of Valor's defending. It was a long throw in. It got headed on, and then Valor failed to win the second ball. They failed to win the first ball, but then they failed to win the second ball, and Kjartan Henry just popped up and boop, there goes. He put it in the back of the net. So, Yeah, I think it's a good point for FAO. I think it's slightly disappointing for Valor, but I do think, I think you could probably put some of this result on the fact that I think it was just a huge effort that they had to put forward to beat Vikingur in the match day prior. I don't know if you guys share that same opinion or how you saw this game.
I think we should also give a huge credit to Heimir Guðjónsson for this game, how he approached it, and just a huge compliment about how he has taken FAO and just he's making chicken salad out of chicken shit, like you say. Everything he's been doing with FAO this season is, I don't know how he's doing it, but somehow he's getting points on the board, and they have 17 points after 10 games, and then he goes to play Valur, and I think it was on the 59th minute when Jón Ægir got the red card, and they still managed to hold out and get the point.
Yep.
Like 30 minutes, men down, and I just feel like Heimir is onto something there, and we need to give Heimir credit for what he's doing, because personally I thought he was just done. But then he comes to FAO, and this season they have just been playing a really good football, and I am really impressed as well with Kjartan Henry and how he is performing and how he has answered KR with his performance this season.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you called him the signing of the season in our first episode, I think. So it's he's coming, he's proving those words again. True. When he's not suspended. No, I think it's true, and we talked about that when we spoke about KR earlier, when they were talking about sacking Runar as well. Like it's you saw with FA how dangerous it is to fire a manager that's been there for a very long time, trying to look for greener pastures. It didn't quite work for FA. I think it showed them, and but he's come in and done a really good job, but I think Valor would be disappointed with this. I think they would have liked to build on that huge result, right? But
I think they should be really disappointed due to the result in the Breiðablik Víkingur game.
Yeah, exactly.
There should be 3 points for Valur this game. It should be automatic 3 points if you look at the performance last season and the starting 11s at both teams.
Yeah.
But Valur also get hits with the injury of Aron.
Exactly. Yeah, because he's been a U.S. international. He's been absolutely incredible this season, right? So losing him is a huge blow for this team. Of course they can bring in good players, and they have a pretty big squad, but it's very hard to replace a player like Aron.
Yeah, he's the best player in the league by a mile. So it's really hard. But I also need to talk about like Adamai Paulsson and Tryggvi Rafn. They have been playing really well. I liked what Adam was doing in this game, but somehow I feel like FO had it under control. I don't know if that was your feeling as well, but like I feel like they had it under control.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it did have that sense, and I never really felt threatened, even after the red card. It was, I would agree with that. Do you know how long? Do you have any? I haven't seen any reports yet, but I might have missed it. How long is Aaron out for?
I don't think it's that serious.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. I haven't seen anything myself, but I don't think it's that serious. I think it's just some knock, and then he will come probably back next game or the game after that. Okay.
Yeah. I think also one other thing to note about this game, or at least that maybe we should have mentioned earlier with Stjarnan. So Stjarnan and FL actually have they're the two teams that have the most minutes given to under 21 players in the league, which is really, really something and really interesting, especially, if you look at that and then you look at this result and knowing that they were down to 10 men for the last 30 minutes of the game as well. That's, and I'm not trying to pump up FL. That's not it. But I look at that and I'm like, wow, yeah, that's a good point for them for sure. So, yeah. Cool. Well, the last game that we want to cover, and this is the big one, Breidablik 2, Vikingur 2. So this was a crazy match. This is a crazy match, and I'm not sure I'm the best one to describe, but I'll do my best because I will be honest with you. I watched 75 minutes of this game, the first 75 minutes of this game, and then I had to drive home, and so I decided that I would flip over to the FL Valor game and finish watching that game instead because I was like, oh, it's 1-1. Maybe somebody will score a goal. Well, shame on me because Vikingur with a 2-0 lead, which is obviously the most dangerous lead in football. Breidablik comes back in the 95th and 96th minute of stoppage time, which they were not even supposed to have, which we'll get into. And they score two goals in quick succession, and then it ends 2-2, which is just blows my mind because Vikingur, from my perspective, and you guys can chime in here in just a second, but I mean, Vikingur controlled this game, I thought, for pretty much the entire game. And so I went back this weekend and caught the last 15 minutes of this game, and I didn't really see anything that changed my opinion on that. I thought Vikingur just played very strongly and played well, and I guess it was just like a mental collapse, like in the last seconds or minutes of that stoppage time, and Breidablik somehow pulled out a point in this game. I'm still stunned by it. So we'll start with Tryggvi. Tryggvi, give me your thoughts, and then we'll go to Orri.
Yeah, you definitely missed the good part of this game, or the interesting part. I would tend to agree. Like, I think we can touch on it a bit later on the comments said by the managers afterwards. But both managers came out and said, no, we were the ones who were controlling this game. It was the perfect game for us. And and I mean, I can see the Breidablik's point of view to an extent. Like, they had a lot of chances. They had they hit the bar and the posts, right, or something like they had a lot of chances. They had they're one-on-one with the keeper at some point. Like, it's not like they sat back and just long shots. Like, right. It wasn't just it wasn't a game where Breidablik was resigned to long shots and high balls for 90% of the game. Like, they did have chances. They could have scored.
They were dominating every single statistic in the game. They had 2.47 in XG against 0.62. They had the ball possession was 55% against 45. And they had almost 400 passes against 227. So, like, you often get a different perspective of the games, like you said, like the coaches also said, and that's respectable. Some people say that Vikingur were the better team. Others say that Breidablik were the better team. So it's really hard. Like, you look at the statistics from the game, and then you watch the game, and you're still not sure, like, which team were better in that game. Because I don't feel like Vikingur were panicking. I felt like they had it under control when it was like 10 to 15 minutes left of the game.
Yeah.
But in the extra 6 or 7 minutes that Breidablik got, something happened, and I've never seen something like that. That was just insane to watch, insane minutes to watch. But I really like the mentality. Yeah.
It reminded me of that Ajax Tottenham game from a few years back, when just like you could sort of like you could sense the ball being sucked into the back of the net. It was just like a long ball that there was like gravity was just pulling it back, pulling it in. It was but I agree. I think it's, to be honest, I had the same feeling for Vikingur as from the Valor game. I think they played well. They created chances, and they scored in this game where they maybe failed to do as where to be as clinical against Valor. And then they just, instead of collapsing for 30 minutes like they did against Valor, they collapsed only for 6 minutes, 7 minutes here. I think I don't see anything that, I'm going to sort of repeat myself from last week. I don't see anything where they should be like completely panicking, and there's nothing broken, I don't think, but there is some sort of, the thing maybe to look at is this concentration thing of maybe once one thing goes against them, they seem to panic a bit. which wasn't the case in the beginning of the season, right? Like we were praising them for being able to hold out a 1-0 or like being able to shut down shop a little bit. It doesn't seem to be. Maybe they're not used to this. They've just been used to keeping a clean sheet, and as soon as they concede, it just panic.
Yeah. But I was listening to an interview with Oscar at Fotboll.net, the show they have every single Saturday, Elva Gera and Thomas Thor, where Oscar said, like, we never quit. That's our mentality. We never quit. We never quit until the referee blows his whistle. And this is just a winner's mentality. And they're showing that they are one of the best teams. And the reason why they were champions last season is because they never give up. They always strive to get results. And coming back from 2-0 down to equalize in 1 minute in additional time is it's insane, and it just shows the mentality that Breiðablik has inside their squad and the belief they have in each other.
Yeah, definitely a huge effort for Breiðablik, and I think what you just said is interesting. I think we've seen that through the season. Is they never give up. They do. There always does seem to be that fight there from them, which is that's an admirable quality for sure as a team. Like almost like, I don't know what it reminds me of. Is like Band of Brothers-esque, right? Like they're just
we could say Clement Olsen is every single penny's worth after the points he has gathered in for Breiðablik in the last minutes this season.
Yeah, for sure. He's been huge for them, and it's definitely a player worth watching, and also a good that was a good signing, a good player to bring in. So yeah, it's been good. Do we want to talk about what happened after the whistle? Is that worth talking about, or is it just?
I think we have to at least touch on it, right? We can wait until the dust settles on some of the stuff, but I think it's I mean it kicked off right at already when the goal went in. I mean the goal was basically the last kick of the game. I think there was a ceremonial kickoff that ended the match, but the goal was the last thing that happened. And I don't remember if it was before the kickoff or after the kickoff. Sölvi Geir Ottesen, the assistant manager for Víkingur, got sent off for it was basically right after the goal. He came for the assistants and towards the Breiðablik bench, and there was quite a stare off or shout off or whatever there between Sölvi and the Breiðablik bench, and then at the end of the game it kicked off completely. There was the melee of players, and there was a shove that meant that Logi Thomasson has got a red card. I haven't seen any statement from the FA. I don't think anything's been decided on what stands and if there's any more bans or anything like this.
They have a meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Where they take
so yeah, I mean, so there's obviously a chance that some more punishments might be handed out, or some of that will be looked at. But 2 red cards. Was there some yellow cards as well in there? I think it was all a bit crazy. And then afterwards, the managers both got called in for TV interviews, and they were interesting to say the least. It's like you said, the winning mentality. It was the most. It was a great quote, and you almost want to. If this wasn't a podcast, we'd show the video that the manager of Oscar Rafn, the manager of Breiðablik, that was sort of like his eyes were seething with, like, I don't know if he was angry or just the adrenaline after the game or what, but it's just like very intense, looking into the camera and saying, Víkingur are nervous, we're coming for them, we're chasing them. It definitely should send a signal to the rest of the league, to Breiðablik and the rest of the league. This is not over. And then Arna Gunnlaugs had some he was displeased, let's say, with some parts of the game.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, from what I read too, some parts of the game, yes, but also the amount of time that was added at the end too, right? Like he was fuming because I guess the referee had said that there was only going to be like a minute and a half, but then there ended up being like 6 minutes. So I think if translate is correct, that's what I read.
Yeah.
And yeah, so he was not a happy camper, and yeah. Orri, any thoughts on that stuff?
At the red cards, the things that happen after the game or the game itself?
Things after.
I think like we didn't see everything. I was also like, so I quote the radio show again, like Sæbjörn Stanke, a reporter in Iceland. He was at the game and he was sitting in the journalist stand. And he said like, we saw everything that happened that you didn't see on TV, and things maybe didn't look as bad on the field as it did on TV. But the video of when Logi Thomasson walks out of the field and he pushes the assistant coach of Breiðablik and he falls down with, he could get some Oscar nominations, but a player should never touch or push a staff member of the other team. So I think the red card is fair. I think what was happening after the game is just men trying to get their emotions out, and this is the way they do it. Like the adrenaline is up top, and this is just a part of it. But I also think that we have to be able to control ourselves in a way. But this is what the audience wants to see. This is how much it means, and this just shows like I don't want to use the word hate, but like these two teams are starting to be the new two big giants in Iceland. Like there's something going on between those two teams that reminds me of KR Valur or KR FH back in the days. So I really liked how the coaches came and talked in the interviews after the game. I really liked how they just let it all out. Some people are criticizing them. Some people are especially criticizing Arnar because he said some things about the referee. But
yeah,
if you look at his interview, he was just saying like that the referee was bad in that game. And like often people talk about how players are bad or how something else is bad. So why can you not say it about the referee if that's your opinion? He's not saying that the referee was supporting Breiðablik in that game or something like that. He was just talking about overall performance, big moments in the game. But then he went a little bit in the Fótbolti.net interview. He went into or talked about things that had happened before, like last season and this season, that he felt like the refereeing was not at that level that he wanted to be at. But I think he was just frustrated and was trying to get his emotions out. And we want to see that raw emotion right after games. It's hard for the coaches, it's hard for the players, but I like when you get the raw emotions and the raw interviews right after the games, because then we get to hear everything that they are really thinking about. But this heated atmosphere just shows us how much this game meant. And for Víkingur to be able to get 8-point lead to losing it down to only 5-point lead with those two goals from Gisle and Climate at the end, it probably shocked them a little bit. So I understand that they are annoyed, but we also need to control our feelings as football players.
Yeah, so that kind of leads me into my next question for you both. Do we think? Well, there's two different questions. So do we think? Obviously, Víkingur's going through a little bit of a down patch at the moment, but I don't know if it's fair to even say that, because they lost to a Valor side that we know is capable of good things, and then they drew with a Breiðablik team that is, as you already mentioned, these are probably the top two, certainly top three teams in the league. So some really tough games, and I'm not sure. I'm just curious how you think Víkingur is going to respond. They play Fram next, and then also, what do you guys think about this Breiðablik team right now? They are away to FH in the Kaplakrika next, and is this Breiðablik team capable of catching Víkingur? And does that rely solely on Víkingur? I think it does in part, but obviously they're the defending champions. I mean, are they now really? Is it all systems go for Breiðablik at this point in time? You know, what are your guys' thoughts? Orri, we'll start with you.
It's a hard question because Breiðablik hasn't been playing like bad football. The first 2 games were maybe like the game against Háká was just a fluke.
Yeah.
And then they played against Valur in bad conditions and won. And then they lost in Vestmannaeyjar against IBVF in a game like I don't want to talk badly about my team, but the conditions there are not. Let's just say they're not at the higher standard, and that clearly affects Breiðablik. So these 2 losses that they have are losses that would most often not happen. But after those 2 games, those 2 losses, I think they have been playing really well and they're finding their rhythm. And I think it's good for them to be chasing Víkingur because it puts the pressure on Víkingur. And it makes the league more interesting because everybody was certain that Breiðablik would be leading this league and would win it with 7 to 10 point lead. So I'm curious to see how Víkingur are going to react against Fram. I think they're going to win that game with 3 or 4 goals and just fullständig, like we say in Denmark, Tryggvi, smash them. But I think the game against FH for Breiðablik is going to be a hard game because FH, they have been playing really well lately. And it's going to be a hard game. They're playing on a grass field. So, yeah, it's going to be hard to see, or how to say it, like hard to see how they're going to win that game when FH has been playing so well at home as well.
Yeah. Tryggvi?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing, as we speak, they're playing our cup game. Obviously not, there's some people that were started on the bench, so they can see now in the second half they made 2 substitutions at halftime, but 55 minutes and they're losing 1-0 to FH. So I think that's fair to say that it's going to be a tough game. Like I've said, I'm not super worried about. I haven't seen anything for Víkingur they've made me like super worried about how they've been playing. I think the Valur game was after the first half. I could see that Valur was threatening, and there were some positions, and they were creating positions behind, especially behind Logi Tómasson and behind the fullbacks. But I thought the Víkingur would finish that game. They didn't, obviously, and you could see the sort of similar thing against Breiðablik. So it's not like they've been out. They've come through 2 tough games with 1 point. I think it sounds worse than it is. I think they're going to bounce back against Fram, and they have Stjarnan at home as again. It's 2 games that it's not the automatic 6 points, but I would expect them to get 6 points from those.
I also think,
I don't.
Tryggvi, I don't know if you agree with me, but I also think that the European competitions are going to affect the league more than we think. It depends on how far the teams will go, and
100%. I think it's 100%. I think it's because I think this is the next few years, especially with the Conference League. I mean, unless we just keep having these absolutely terrible performances in Europe, I think eventually one of these teams will make it to at least the Conference League group, right? Ideally, Europa League. I think Champions League is a little bit outside of our capabilities at the moment. But we haven't been. There's been a few times that teams from Iceland have been close to Europa League spots. So yeah, if one of those teams goes on a run like that and is 1 or 2 games from a Europa League spot, especially or a Conference League group stage, for sure they're gonna. It's silly not to say that players are going to focus equally on playing against Lech Poznan or something that Icelandic team seems to play every single year. A team like Lech Poznan or something, they're going to focus the same energy on them as they would against Keflavik or something in the same week, right? So of course I think that's going to have a huge impact. So that'll be really interesting to see. what sort of impact that has. But no, it's going to be a super title race. It looks like. I'm glad it's not over yet. It's I think maybe last season I don't think it was over at this point, but I think it was very much Breiðabliks to lose at some point. It was not as exciting as this.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and long may that continue. In my opinion, it's great. I'm all in. I love it. I guess kind of my closing thoughts, or at least about this game. One player I wanted to mention too, and I think we've talked about him before, but August Lindsson for Breiðablik, the defender.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's having kind of a breakout season. I think he's I've been impressed with him and his performances, and so I just wanted to mention that because I think he was not expected at the beginning of the season to really, I think, be a starter, but for this Breiðablik team. But I think he's kind of forced his way in since the season has started, and so to me that's somewhat impressive. So I just wanted to make sure that we mention him because I thought he's been putting in some good performances recently. So anyways, so that was match day 10. That was a very exciting match day, and lots of great talking points, and we love the Besta. It's fantastic. It's what we're here for, right? So with that being said, we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and we're actually gonna talk about the women's league, the women's Besta. And so Orri is an expert here with all this, and he has his ear to the ground there as well. And I think he has a greater grasp on it than maybe Tryggvi and I do. And I'm probably the person with the least amount of knowledge in this group. So I'll kind of turn it over to Tryggvi a little bit to lead this discussion with Orri. And maybe I'll take a little bit of a back seat and just listen for a little bit, because I would love to watch the women's league, but I don't have a way to watch it. But it is of interest to me, and so I'm excited for this discussion.
Yeah, I think we'll touch on some of that as well, like maybe either today, or maybe we can go on to it into another time. I think about the access side of it as well, like you said, because there is a lot of interest, but unfortunately it's not always accessible, especially abroad. But yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, to be honest, it's sort of the same for me. I don't get a chance to, living abroad. I don't get a chance to watch as much as I would like, especially with KR not in the Besta. So I definitely want to listen and try to learn, and so that's why we brought Orri here, and to get a bit. So there were 6 rounds into the league. Valur is leading the pack, 13 points. But yeah, Orri, could you maybe give us a bit of a status how the season has started? What's happening?
It's been a weird season. Over the last couple of seasons, Valur and Breiðablik has, of course, been dominating the women's side of the sport, and they are currently sitting in the top 2 places. Valur at the top with 13 points, and Breiðablik in the second place with 12 points. So you might think like things are not changing, but the league, it's better now. Like every team can beat each other. So it's curious to see how the results have been going in the league. And also the league has many interesting young players that are worth following and worth mentioning. There are players in this league that are being watched by big teams in Scandinavia and in Germany, for example. And there are interesting players playing in this league that have been playing abroad and are now playing at home, like in Valur and Breiðablik. So it's a league that is worth following. It's a fun women's league, I would say, one of my favorites actually, and I'm not saying it because I'm Icelandic.
So what have been some of the upsets maybe so far?
Some of the upsets are, I'm not sure like there have been like big upsets, but there have been results that are interesting so far. We got in the first game of the season, we got Valur against Breiðablik, the big 2 giants playing against each other, where Valur beat Breiðablik 1-0. It's weird to have that game at the start of the season, in my opinion, but that's how KC has put it down. But I think the most interesting results that I've seen was FV out against Þórkáa. Þórkáa plays in Akureyri and have been playing really well. Like they play well, and then they get games where they just don't connect. And FV surprised me there with a 2-0 victory.
And could you maybe, like, because you mentioned there's a few players that are being watched, because I think it's good to take a bit of an introduction course today, and then we can go a bit deeper maybe in future episodes. Maybe could you run through some of the players that you were mentioning that are maybe interesting to foreign leagues?
Do you want the older players or the younger players?
just maybe something that maybe give us a taste a bit of both. Two and two, older players, 2 younger players.
There are 2 younger players that I really like in the league that have been playing in this league for the seasons. There are Katla Tryggvadóttir that plays in Þróttur. She's been raising interest from teams in Sweden and Denmark, for example, and they were scouting her at the under-19s qualification group when Iceland qualified for the under-19s this summer when they played against Denmark, Sweden, and Ukraine. And then there's also Sædís Rún Eðarsdóttir in Stjarnan. She's a left back with probably one of the best left foots I've seen in a while on the women's side. So they are 2 young players that people should definitely look at. And then we have Emilia Óskarsdóttir that is on loan from Kristianstad. She's on loan at Selfoss. She's the daughter of Óskar Rafn, the head coach of Breiðablik. She's 17. She was at a trial at Bayern München not so long ago, and she is one of the most talented and excited players that we have. So I would definitely recommend people looking at her and looking at her playing style. She's really fast, aggressive, powerful player, and I think she will do great things in the future. When we look at the older players we have, of course, Sandra Maria Jessen. She plays for Þórkáa. She's been a really good player for many years. She went to Leverkusen. She got injured. She tore her ACL with the national team a few years back, but came back and went to Leverkusen. And at Leverkusen, she got pregnant, so she had her baby and came back home to play with Þórkáa and has been dominating this league. And I'm pretty sure she's going to go abroad when this season is over. She's a really good player that plays wing and attacker, and she has been Steini called her into the last national squad. So I think she's finding her rhythm again. She's finding her form, and she's a really, really interesting player and fun player to watch, and I really like her. Then we have probably one of the most exciting players that don't get talked about a lot, maybe, and that is one of my favorite players in Valur. Her name is Laura Kristin Pedersen. She is, if I would describe her as a men's football player, she would be a little bit like Thiago at Liverpool. She has the great touch, great passing, great football IQ. She's not the fastest player in the world, but everything she does is incredible. And if she would have a little bit more speed, she would be playing at a much higher level. But it's really fun, and if you're a football loving person, you would love to watch her playing style and how she plays.
That's super interesting. Yeah, maybe should we go into some of the issues that have been like we spoke about? It's not that easy to watch this league abroad, right? But that's not really the only issue that's facing this league, right? There's been some ongoing talks, I guess, in the media with the manager of Valur, who's expressed some concern, not just this season. It's been an ongoing topic. Could you maybe, I don't need to go into too much detail, but maybe just describe some of the issues that has been in this league, some of the controversies in terms of access, in terms of maybe fairness as well?
I think this league is having the same problems as we've been seeing all over the world for the last couple of years, with I want to use the word equality, but like it's often that we look at boards and people that are in control, that there are mostly men that are controlling the football leagues, the broadcasting, everything like that. So they maybe are not as interested in women's football and don't see the revenue or the chances in around women football. And that's the same thing we are seeing in Iceland right now. And what Pétursson, the coach of Valur, has been talking about and has been really loud about is, like you said, the fairness, why things are not the same on the men's sides, Besta and women's Besta Deild. Like they were playing against Þróttur in the last round, the biggest game of that round, and it was a really, really good game, really fun game. And he came to an interview after the game and criticized almost everything that you could criticize when it comes to the surroundings and everything around the game. There was no panel. There was. He said he almost never sees the league advertised, but he always knows when the men's games are playing, and it's just like small things that they want to get fixed. And I think the biggest problem that we are looking at is both how ETF, Icelandic Top Football, and how Stöð 2, the sport channel in Iceland, are promoting this league. They are talking about that they are doing the same thing for both sides, and they are trying. I think I'm not saying that they're not trying, but I also feel like they don't care. For example, we have that fantasy game for the men's sides, fantasy football, that it's not a good game if we're totally honest, but they don't have it on the women's side, and they didn't even talk about it. Like they didn't even say anything about not having it until 2 days before the men's league started. So there are communications, there are the surroundings, the events, the broadcasting, the coverage. It leans a little bit on the women's league, and that is what Peter has been talking about. And the players also said in the start of the season, the players said enough is enough, and it happened when Icelandic Top Football sent an email out to all the clubs and asked them to come and take a part in a photo shot and video for the league at the same time as the Champions of Champions game was played on the women's side. So they basically asked players that were playing that game, the cup winners and the league winners, to come and take photos and advertisement for the league when they were playing. And that also shows how little interest it is from their side to just gather information and know when the games are being played or what is happening in the league. So I think that it's just many little issues that have become a big issue, and they are fed up. If we would describe it in like 3 words, they're just fed up.
Yeah, and then that makes sense, right? It's a shame as well, because you see leagues across Europe and over the world growing in stature, growing, and see attendance records being broken all over the place. You see the coverage for these leagues and European competitions growing and growing. So it's obviously a shame that it's happening here. That's also why we want to invited you here, because as Joe said, neither of us is an expert, and I think it would be a bit hypocritical to talk us criticizing people about not promoting something and then us talking out of our behind about something we know nothing about. So I think we wanted to bring in someone that knows something, and hopefully we can do this again and then try to a bit more regular updates on the league, because I think it's important not to just do once a season or when something bad happens or that you cover it. I think it's something that needs constant coverage, and so that's hopefully we can give help a little bit in that respect. But
the problem is also like Stjarnan and Keflavík were playing on Wednesday, I think it was, and there were 85 people in the audience, and it's not just like Icelandic Top Football or the league associations. It's also the clubs, like how the club, let's say like Breiðablik Víkingur on the men's side, there were 2,000 people at that game. Breiðablik is playing against Stjarnan, a top game on Wednesday now in the women's side, and I'm guessing it's going to be around 500 people maybe there. So it's more about how you can raise the interest and how the clubs can also participate in raising the interest on the league. It all comes together, like the broadcasting, the coverage, the advertisement, how the clubs react, how they try to get people to come to the stadiums, because it's really fun league to watch, and there are really interesting players in this league. And I mean, Sveindís Jónsdóttir, that probably most people know that watch football or have heard her name, was playing in the Champions League final this weekend. She was playing in this league like 2 or 3 years ago. Karina Lea Viljánsdóttir was also playing in this league 2 or 3 years ago, and she is at Bayern München right now. And many other players that have gone abroad and are playing really well and are doing great things. So this league has quality players. So it's a shame to see how little it's being valued and how little respect it gets. And I made a Twitter post about it right before the season, about how things are. And I just, like, there you just saw how many people share the same opinion as I have. Like, there's clearly some things that need to be fixed to help that brand grow, as they are doing with the men's side. But I also think the men's side has problems when it comes to advertising or promoting. Like, I really love that we have people from abroad that are watching these leagues and covering these leagues and having podcasts like this about the league. It's fantastic. But I think the possibilities both on the men's side and the women's side are huge, and that the Icelandic top football and the Football Association and other people involved in those two leagues, this brand, are not taking full advantage of it, in my opinion. I think they can grow it even more and even faster if they would do it in the right way.
Okay, but I think maybe this is a topic, like I said, that we should maybe revisit. I think not maybe. I think we will revisit it. I think it's important that we keep talking about it. Maybe dive into it a bit deeper. But thank you so much, Orri, for talking about it, coming in. This is, like I said, this is maybe more of an introduction into what's happening, what's the status is. And then we'd love if people have questions to help about the men's or the women's side, if we can dive into some of these issues and what people are interested in talking about.
And if there are any people that listen to this podcast, for example, and want to know more about the Women League or players in the Women's League, they can always contact me and ask me if they want to get some information or anything. Because I really, really, really love it when people show interest in the Icelandic football leagues.
Yeah, and as you've been talking, I've actually had quite a few questions in my own head pop up that we'll have to save for, I think, for another episode.
Yeah.
Because I've got to scoop myself personally, but yeah, I mean, things pop like Champions League and maybe a more level playing field in the women's game right now. These are all, especially from financial, positions as well. These are all things that not just in Iceland but across the gamut are going through my head, and I would love to pick your brain on that on another at another time.
Well, we can say, like, if you look at the Champions League final game, it was on Saturday. At 4 p.m. They were playing at the same time as the FA Cup final in England was, and there were leagues like in Sweden, the top league in Sweden and the top league in Denmark were playing games at the same time as the Champions League final was being played at, and that is something that you would never see on the men's side, for example. And it's insane to look at that people don't do something about this to help the sport grow.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But I echo Tryggvi's comments. We really appreciate you, Orri, hopping on for this episode. Fascinating discussion, and thank you for all your input. You've definitely helped us add some additional substance to our show this time around. So we really appreciate you being here, and And yeah, thanks to Tryggvi for helping set that up. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Anybody who is interested in following our show, we have kind of an English language account about the league. Really more the men's league at this time, but who knows, maybe that will grow into the women's league in the future. I'm definitely not opposed to that at all. So, but yeah, it's at Besta ENG, like Besta English, Besta ENG. And yeah, we're really trying to give you some interesting stats and some cool graphics to go along with our conversations on the show. And so hopefully if you follow us already, we hope you're enjoying that. And yeah, it's what we like to do. And so yeah, from myself and from Tryggvi and from Orri, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.